This video will give you a brief introduction to the core content contained in Dove Confident Me School workshops for body confidence. This content makes up the single session workshop and also forms the foundation for the extended 5-session programme. The single session is designed to last approximately 45 to 60 minutes, depending on the amount of discussion time you have available. The core content of Dove Confident Me involves a discussion around appearance ideals and pressures, the role of the media, both professional and social, in promoting them, the impact of these ideals and pressures on young people, and what can be done to challenge them. So now let's introduce you to these concepts and to some of the key activities used to help young people understand them. The first core component of Confident Me is introducing appearance ideals and pressures. Here the learning objective is for students to understand the concept of appearance ideals and where pressure to achieve these ideals comes from. You'll be able to guide students through a consideration of what appearance ideals are, why they exist, and how they are always changing. You'll also be able to brainstorm where these changes come from. For instance, we know that societal standards of appearance and attractiveness haven't always been the way that they are now, and that they are influenced by the media, fashion, diet, and fitness industries, as well as cultural beliefs of the day. The key objective here is that students learn that appearance ideals are cultural standards that are developed and promoted in our society for a variety of reasons, and should understand that they do not prescribe an ideal way to look. It's also important that students recognise that pressures to look a certain way come continuously from multiple sources and not only include society and media, but also friends, family, and even themselves. The second core component concerns professional media as opposed to social, which will be discussed later. By professional media, we mean commercial forms of mass media and advertising, including TV, film, magazines, and the internet. The learning objectives here are that students will develop media literacy by exploring how images and messages in professional media are often manipulations of the truth, and as a result, promote unrealistic and unachievable standards. Students will develop strategies to resist appearance pressures to conform to those standards. A key activity associated with these objectives is viewing the Dove Evolutions video. It's important that you help students to recognise the extent of the physical and digital manipulation that is used to create the final product or image, in order to trick people into certain thoughts and behaviours, and that to compare themselves to these kinds of unrealistic images is extremely unfair. Students will also analyse various media advertisements, and it's important that you help guide them to recognise that images in professional media often reflect unrealistic appearance ideals in order to promote their products and services. Students will then be guided to think about the problems that appearance pressures might cause and what they can do to challenge them. Here you need to help students think of ways in which they can show that they don't agree with the appearance ideal. For example, deciding not to buy magazines with manipulated images, or sharing what they've learnt with others, as well as ways to stop comparing themselves to media and images. For example, reminding themselves that images aren't real. It's unfair to compare to them, and focusing on things other than appearance. The third component involves looking specifically at personal and social media, such as Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, and at the impact of comparing and competing with those around us. The learning objective here is that students will develop strategies to resist appearance pressures by avoiding comparing their appearance to others. A key activity is viewing the Change One Thing video, which demonstrates how people often compare things they aren't happy with to people they perceive as better looking or having what they want, and consequently, everyone is left feeling bad about themselves.
Blonde hair would be nice.
I would love to have freckles.
I wish I was taller.
Darker skin. I think I'm way too pale.
Just kind of want to fit in.
I think that I'd like to have curly hair.
I wish I had straight hair.
Students will also be encouraged to consider their own images that they might create for social media and how they themselves might be engaging in manipulation that promotes appearance ideals and the problems this can lead to by adding to the pressures to match unrealistic images. It's important that students are guided to consider the negative impact of comparing themselves to others, which is unfair and unhelpful, and how they might challenge this. For example, by not editing all of their own images and not posting appearance-based comments. Finally, research in body image tells us that these sorts of programmes are even more effective when students are engaged in some sort of advocacy at a class or a school level to fight against these appearance ideals. This forms a key activity in the 5-session workshop series, but we would encourage you to get students thinking of ideas during the single session also. The 5-session workshop series also allows for more time to explore these key concepts in greater depth and expands on the core content by including other important influences on body confidence such as appearance-based conversations, teasing, taunting and bullying. This added section on body talk encourages students to avoid appearance-based teasing and engages students in learning to reframe conversations away from appearance focus.